All right, what's going on here? All right, it's saying we're live, but I'm not seeing it on any of the platforms, ladies and gentlemen. Let me make sure that we up. There goes YouTube. Rockfin, where you at, man? Rockfin, there's the rock. There's the rock. The fin that is the rock. And the YouTube. Now, YouTube was first today. Well, Twitter's always first. But YouTube was second and Rockfin was third today. Not that it's a competition. Although I guess maybe in a way it kind of is. I don't know. I mean, is it? Is it not? I don't. Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. Either way, I mean, what are you gonna do? What's up, everybody? Good afternoon, good evening, good morning. Welcome to Get Your News On with Ron. Good to see everybody. Hope you're all well. We got a fun show today. We're going to be talking about the railroad strike, and we're also going to be talking about a success strike story and to kind of I don't know, like how can that sort of pivot into the rail strike? What are some lessons that can be taken from that? We're going to look into all that. And we got some other stuff on the docket as well. First, though, this is a little breaking. I wasn't going to talk about this, but I ended up having an interaction with my congressperson. My congressperson is Nanette Bergen out here in, I think it's, what number are we? Are we the 44? But anyway, it's my congressional district where I live here in the Los Angeles area. And I am on my congressperson's email list, as if you've ever written your congressperson about any issue, you're probably on their email list. I write my congresspeople all the time because I sign a bunch of petitions for digital rights legislation and stuff like that. So I'm writing to my congresspeople and my senators all the time. So I'm on a bunch of email lists, as I'm sure y'all are too. So I got invited to my congressperson's end of year lunch. It was just, they sent it out to the email list. They invited you to a lunch. And I said, I thought, I have a lot of questions. It's on a Saturday afternoon. I got the time available. I'd like to ask some questions. In particular, I wanted to ask a question about the rail strike. So I show up. Well, here's what happened. Let's go. So here's actually a video of me that I'm going to share. For everyone listens to the podcast later, you're just getting the audio. But so here's me walking down the street. Hey guys, it's Ron. I'm kind of just walking around my Pedro town here, and I was invited to my congressperson's end of the year lunch. I'm not quite sure why I was invited. Maybe there's a disgruntled intern somewhere, but probably on a press list or something. But either way, I was invited, and I have quite a few questions. So I'm going with the hopes to ask a question. So I go to the lunch. And what happens next? Well, here's what happens next. She's not there. She is not at the lunch. And they didn't tell us this ahead of time. So just to walk you through like the anatomy of this, you get your little name tag because you had to RSVP and you go into the lunch. You're assuming she's going to be there. Nobody tells you at the door, hey, she's not going to be there. And it was just unclear what's going on. And then eventually somebody at the table said, yeah, apparently she's not going to be here. And then someone else said, yeah, like I think she has like an ear something or other. She has some issue and she's not going to be there, which, hey, especially in these times, health issues come up. Totally understandable. The communication around this event left a bit to be desired, but things happen. Totally get it. So finally, like I just sort of asked the volunteers to confirm things. I'm like, okay, so she's not going to be here. And they say no. So at which point, what's up, Lucy? How are you? Lucy crawled up on the desk. Or she didn't crawl, she climbed up, right? Ooh, that's a glass of water. Be careful with that. Don't knock that over. Don't knock that over, Lucy. Lucy's really all right. She's really all over the place today. What's up, Luce? How you doing? Sorry for the cat interruption, but if you have ever watched this show before, you know that's kind of part of the show. That's like that's a reliable part of this show. And what am I doing calling it an interruption? Really, this is my co-host. Here, sit on my lap. I don't want you near all those cords, Lucy, because you might accidentally knock one out, and then I don't have audio anymore. Here, stay here. Can you stay here? You want to stay here? You want to? She's in my lap now. You can. All right. Don't. Here, hold on. I know. Stay on my lap. Come. Come here. Here we go. There you go. Yeah. How's that? Perfect? This is listen, my cat's comfort takes precedence over anything else that I do. It really does. It's probably not great, but if I'm writing something and she's not comfortable, I'll be like, well, how can I freaking oh, you want me to lay like a bat and type backwards? If you're comfortable that's what we'll do. That's what we'll do. Anyway. All right. So it was kind of unclear what was going on. And once I confirmed she wasn't going to be there, I just kind of left, and I was like, okay, whatever, things happen. I wish again, I wish the communication would have been a little more thorough, or not even thorough. Just let people know. Um, is that the all right, Lucy? I feel like you're determined to knock out this cord, and it would be cooler if you didn't. I would be greatly appreciative if you did not. I'm petting the cat. That's what you do. You pet your cat whenever they go somewhere you'd prefer they not go. Make sure you pet them. That's a good thing. Show them affection for going somewhere you'd prefer they not go, instead of like being like, hey, or picking them up, or a pet them instead, as if they think they're doing something they're supposed to do. It's yeah. I mean, whatever. I don't know how to discipline a cat. Like I don't, you guys know me. I don't discipline a cat. Let's see. Oh god. And we're getting spammers. We're getting spammers in the thing. All right. I went ahead and got rid of that, I think. I think the spammers are gone. And by the way, when I say spammers, I literally mean people spamming. Yeah. Okay. All right. Let me go back here. Sorry, y'all. Okay, so that's what happened at this event. It was not clear what was going on. I left when I found out she wasn't going to be there. So here's what happened next. I went home and I thought, gee, I wonder if she, has a message to the constituents like, hey, sorry, I wasn't going to be there. Sorry, like I'm sick or whatever, just some kind of information, some kind of accountability. Because I wanted to ask her about the rail strike. My congressperson voted to crush the strike and then voted for the sick days. Which, voting for the sick days, good. Voting to crush the strike, bad. That's how a lot of members of Congress and the Senate voted. That's how she voted. So I was going to ask, gee, the way this was handled was atrocious. You guys knew it was going to fail in the Senate. And what right do you have with unlimited sick time to tell some of the hardest working people in the country, to tell anybody, but let alone some of the hardest working people in the country, that they deserve 0 sick days? I was gonna ask a question. Um, so I go to her Twitter account, and instead of seeing an explanation as to why she wasn't at a lunch with constituents that she had committed to and that nobody was told she wasn't going to be there, this is what I see instead. There was nothing about her not being at the lunch, by the way, not one thing, but she's promoting an MSNBC spot she's excited to do. So, again, little okay. So I tweet, and here's what I say. I say, gee, is there any reason why nobody was told ahead of time that you weren't going to be at your district lunch? We were told you were sick, which of course is understandable, but you're well enough for a TV spot? This is not the best look without an explanation. Now, I wasn't expecting this, if I'm being honest with you, but I got an explanation. She responded to me. I appeared via Zoom from Washington, D.C. to do the lunch legislative briefing and answer constituent questions. Now, so here's what happened. She eventually did Zoom in, but again, at the lunch, and I know this because I was there, we were told Nothing. Like, we were given no explanation, and so it was kinda confusing what was going on. The event was supposed to end at 1:30. I left at about 1:20, or it might have even been later than that. So it was pretty much when the event was supposed to end. I was kinda just thinking, "I don't know what's going on here. I know she's not gonna be here, so I guess there's not gonna be a Q&A. Alright. I mean, things happen. Okay." You know, maybe she gave us a message on Twitter or something. No, she's promoting a TV spot. Gee, I'm kind of curious what went down here. She's given this explanation. Now, again, she was in Washington, D.C., which means to have made it for this lunch, it would have involved a cross country flight on her part. The reason I mention that is because there was ample time. Like they definitely knew she wasn't going to be there with a reasonable amount of time. So there was ample time for them to email, to send an e-blast out and just say, "Hey, just so you know, the congresswoman's having some ear problems. She can't get on a plane right now. She's not going to be here today. Just so you know, the lunch is still going to happen. She's going to try to Zoom in, or the lunch is still going to happen. We're going to try to figure something out. She sends her regrets." Just let people know. I mean, like I would have preferred not to have been in a crowded place indoors if there was no reason for me to be there. You know what I mean? So anyway, so I respond and I say, "Appreciate the explanation. Communication left a bit to be desired, but things happen." I think that's fair. I think it's like, hey, communication could have been a little bit better here, but okay, that things happen. "Since you did vote for the sick days, are you against Biden signing it into law without them?" Now, you might be thinking, "Ron, why did you mention all that there?" Well, because she actually responded to me in another moment too. So I'll give my congressman a little bit of kudos where it's due. She could have completely ignored me. She didn't. So I'll give kudos to Congresswoman Berrigan where it's due. She could have just ignored me. She did not. So I'll give props there. But here's another thing that happened. So let's go to this tweet. Because I love irony. So I tweeted this out. "I wanted to ask my congressperson why they think they have the right to force rail workers to work without sick days when they get unlimited sick days. I didn't get to because my congressperson was taking a sick day." Which is the truth. I mean, she wasn't there because she's allegedly sick. So she didn't show up. And not only, so this just goes to show you, not only does Congress get unlimited sick time, but they get unlimited sick time and they don't even need an explanation. Technically, Congress people are supposed to work for we the people, right? That's what we're told. We're told they're public servants. If you actually believe that, um, I wish I had your imagination, but that's what we're told. So, but we were given, so anyway, so I tweeted that. I said, "I wanted to ask my congressperson why they think they have the right to force rail workers to work without sick days when they get unlimited sick days." I didn't get to because my congressperson was taking a sick day. Now, again, to her credit, she responded to this. And here's what she said. "Did you stay for my legislative briefing? I did appear via Zoom." Now, this is the first time I even knew that because, again, I stayed until the event was supposed to end, pretty much, and no one had a clue what was going on. Or at least a word did not get around because a bunch of people left. I wasn't the only one. Like people were just kind of leaving. And as people were leaving, nobody there said, "Oh, she's going to appear via Zoom." Like no one said anything. No one said when you walked in she's not going to be there. And by the way, I'm not putting this on the people who were physically present because most of the people there were volunteers. I'm not putting this on them. This is a problem from the top. The fact that this wasn't like an email should have been sent out by her staff just saying, "Hey, just so you know, she's not able to attend." I mean, that's not too much to ask. I'm sorry. It just isn't. I'm not trying to like over nitpick here, but come on. So anyway, she did appear via Zoom and she did answer questions. So here's what she said. "Did you stay for my legislative briefing? I did appear via Zoom from Washington, D.C. to provide the legislative briefing, and I did answer questions. Constituents are welcome to schedule an in-person meeting with me." Okay, appreciate it. So here she says, I voted for rail workers to get sick pay. Senate Republicans did not. Well, Joe Manchin is not a Senate Republican. He is a Democrat, and he voted against the sick pay. So, just, might want to get your own house in order too. But she's right. Senate Republicans didn't vote for it. She voted for the sick pay. That is true. She also voted to crush the strike. So here's what I said. Admittedly, no. A lot of people left because it wasn't clear what was going on, and word had spread you weren't going to be there. I was among those who left. Again, things happen, but communication left a bit to be desired. Do you think Biden should veto the bill since no sick days? And by the way, folks, the reason I bring all this up, this is the question to frickin' ask. This is the question to ask your congressperson, especially if they're like mine, where they want to just kind of, deflect the blame on Senate Republicans for no sick days. Be like, okay, well, you voted to crush the strike. You should have voted against that. You didn't. You voted to crush the strike. You voted for the sick days. So should Biden veto it without the sick days? Do you think that Joe Biden should veto it? Call their bluff. If they're actually concerned about these sick days, and they don't think that workers in this country should work without sick days. And again, rail workers have one of the most dangerous jobs out there. They're putting themselves in harm's way constantly. They're on call pretty much 24/7. They work 80-hour weeks. There was that story about the guy in Nebraska. He had such limited time off. He had to choose between a necessary dental surgery that he needed or going to his child's birthday. He chose his child's birthday. So by the time he was finally able to get to the dental surgery, which was months later because he had no time off, it had gotten so bad that they had to just remove the tooth. So this guy had to get a tooth removed that could have totally been prevented. Also, he could attend his child's birthday because his time off was that few and far in between. And our government is saying that's okay. Democrats and Republicans are saying that's okay. And it's been very interesting to see the pretzel logic people have been applying to this thing on all sides. It's been interesting. There's the pretzel logic of, oh, no, the unions wanted them to vote this way. They wanted the people who are trying to strike because there's a contract they don't want to accept. They want Congress to vote to crush the strike by forcing them to accept that contract that they don't want to accept. They want them to do that. That is pretzel logic beyond comprehension. How about you just don't crush the strike? So that's some of the pretzel logic that people are applying. Here's the other pretzel logic on the other frickin' side. Oh, Republicans are sticking up for the unions. Really? By unanimously voting against sick pay. Unanimously voting against sick pay, they're sticking up for the unions. That's sticking up for the unions. If you are that fooled by a virtue signaling Marco Rubio tweet, that's fine if you want to live in fantasy land. If you want to live in fantasy land because it gives you this ability to tweet contrarian bullshit on Twitter, go ahead. The rest of us are going to live in reality where we know that both Wall Street sponsored teams are not with us. Wall Street Team D isn't for the working class. Yeah, no shit. Oh, that means Wall Street Team R is. Okay, now you're creating political fan fiction. I was even told by somebody, hey, you should get behind Josh Hawley. Go join Josh Hawley, which sounds like a cult, by the way. Go join Josh Hawley because he supports. Oh, okay, well, Bernie Sanders voted the same way Josh Hawley did. Why aren't you telling me to join, quote unquote, join Bernie Sanders? John Hickenlooper voted that way. Should I join John Hickenlooper? Join them? What the fuck does that mean, by the way? Join them. I'm not gonna fall for some bullshit virtue signaling from anyone. So, it's interesting watching the political fan fiction people are making on one side or the other. Join them. I'm not interested in joining your fucking cult. Okay? Not interested. And I'm not interested in joining your Wall Street sponsored cult either. So, but it makes for some cool contrarian Twitter takes. Anyway, so that's the question to ask your Congress people. Which brings us to our next question. Ask them the question, hey, if you supported, if they didn't support the sick pay, ask them the question, hey, what gives you the right with your unlimited sick time to tell workers in this country they deserve 0 sick days? Ask them that question. If they did support the sick time, quote unquote, I'll use it air quotes, if they did support the sick time but voted to crush the strike, ask them, should Biden veto it? If you're so passionate about this sick time, call on the president to veto this bill because it doesn't include the sick time. Call on him to do that. Otherwise, you're bullshitting. Doesn't hurt. I mean, hey, and if my congressperson responds to me, I doubt she will. I don't think she's going to respond again, but I didn't expect her to respond to me in the first place, so maybe she'll surprise me. Who knows? But if she responds and she says, yeah, I do think he should, and then she makes a public statement about it, hey, I'll give credit where credit is due. I will say props to you for doing that. Thank you. But we'll see if that happens. So this brings me to the next question that I really want to ask. That's a big focal point of today's show. Should the rail workers strike anyway? Will they? I guess the better question is, will they strike anyway? And by the way, please do leave a super chat or a Rockfin tip giving me your answer to that question. Will they strike anyway? Or should they? I mean, you can answer that question too. Should they strike anyway? I think that they should. Will they? Tough to say. Well, let's go to this. So here's the press release from the Railroad Workers United. We suffered a 1-2 punch at the hands of first the Democratic Party, the second served up by the Republicans. So they know they're getting screwed by both Wall Street teams. They know that the Democrats screwed them by just making it happen, by just crushing it. And then the Republicans really screwed them by screwing them on the sick leave. So they know this. We're going to go to the press release itself and go through it. Press release. Democrats, then Republicans, smite rail labor. While Railroad Workers United finds it despicable but not surprising that both political parties opted to side with big business over working people yesterday and vote against the interests of railroad workers not once but twice within hours, we suffered a 1-2 punch at the hands of first the Democratic Party, the second served up by the Republicans. First, responding to the wishes of... So it sounds like the rail workers aren't making political fan fiction, by the way, everybody. By the way, edgelord contrarian land or playing defense for politicians land. It sounds like the railroad workers aren't interested in fiction. Why? Because they're tired of working 80-hour freaking weeks. They're tired of doing dangerous work. They're tired of being exploited. So they don't have time for your fucking political fan fiction. First, responding to the wishes of President Biden and House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, the House voted to legislate a contract that the majority of U.S. freight rail workers had previously voted to reject. The Senate would quickly follow suit. In effect, their actions simply overrode our voices and desires. Rail workers, like all workers, should have the right to bargain collectively and to freely engage in strike activity if and when the members see fit and when they democratically elect to do so. Within hours of the Senate sealing our fate on Thursday afternoon, we would suffer a second defeat, this time at the hands of the other party of big business, the Republican Party. That bill, which would have mandated that all railroad workers receive 7 days of paid sick leave, would receive just a handful of votes from Republicans in the House. And remember, these cosplaying Republicans, get your little edgelord contrarian tweets celebrating them. That's productive. And it's not bullshit at all. Would receive just a handful of votes from Republicans in the House and crucially in the Senate, where it went down to defeat. This 1-2 punch from the two political parties is despicable. Politicians are, this is according to RWU General Secretary Jason Daring, politicians are happy to voice platitudes and heap praise upon us for our heroism throughout the pandemic, the essential nature of our work, the difficult and dangerous and demanding conditions of our jobs. Yet when the steel hits the rail, they back the powerful and wealthy Class 1 rail carriers every time. And guess what? Those carriers donated a lot to Joe Biden. So Call on your congresspeople. Tell them, hey, if you supported this sick time, call on President Biden to veto a bill. I know they're not going to do it. Of course, they're not going to do it. But by calling their bluff, we kind of get more people to wake up to how this country is being exploited and how we have a government that's just literally actively working against its people. That's not like a conspiracy. That's not like a that's not nihilism or anything like that. That's just an accurate description of what's going on. And I'm not advocating, to just give up or give in. I'm advocating to call the situation what it is and act accordingly. And what does that mean, act accordingly? That means fight for policies, not political parties. It means act locally, engage locally, and it means support things like protest and frickin' strikes. That's what it means. And that is 100% more productive than showing up to a lunch where your congressperson doesn't even show up and doesn't think anyone deserves an explanation. And that's another reason why. Now, again, she might be sick. I'm just saying from a thematic standpoint, get used to more of this. I mean, hey, you have people like Marco Rubio, the supposed big guy of the working class now because he issued some bullshit virtue signaling tweet. You have people like Marco Rubio. They don't even do appearances. They don't even do. Marco Rubio doesn't even have events like this anymore because people are too mean to him. At least my congressperson, and by the way, I'm not trying to I have a lot of disagreements with my congressperson politically, but at least she will meet with people. At least she has events. I mean, this one she didn't show up to. But there are people even worse than her out there as far as what they're doing and as far as the transparency. And we are entering a really lords and peasants world where they're the lords and they apparently don't answer to us. Again, Congresswoman Berrigan might be sick, so I'm not trying to just make this all about her as an individual. This just happens to be the example I have to go on because it's my district. But the fact that any politician thinks they can just bail on a public event where they're supposed to have answers for the people. And by the way, not all the questions, maybe some of the questions were about things she's doing that they like. You don't know what the public's going to have for you. My question was going to be stern but fair. It was going to be polite, and it was definitely going to be fair. And it was not going to be mean or rude. It was going to be fair, polite, but stern. And I was going to lay it out like why do you think you have the right to do this? Not you and your colleagues, because I know it's not just any one person, but what gives you guys the right to crush a strike and then tell people they have to work without sick days? What in the world gives you that right? And if you're just going to deflect the blame on Senate Republicans, not freaking good enough, because you can call on your colleague, the President of the United States, to veto this bill without the sick time. He's not going to do that. He already said he's not. So you think that you have the right, our Congress and our Senate, regardless of what Wall Street team they play for, they think that they have the right to say to the American people, we have unlimited sick time, we have huge salaries, we have all the benefits in the frickin' world, we have better health care than most people can ever frickin' imagine, most people around the world, by the way. Well, our country has the worst healthcare system in the industrialized world, the worst. While they have that, we enjoy top-notch healthcare that other people in the world can only imagine. And we're telling you that we have the right to crush your right to strike and that you have to work without any sick time. They sold out the rail workers. They'll sell out the rest of us. It's only a matter of time. And it's already been happening, by the way. This isn't their first misstep. And if you think that either of the parties are for the working class, you're in dream world. If you're, the Republicans are standing up for the nice fantasy story. Go write your political fan fiction on LiveJournal. Oh, this is how they wanted this. Go write your political fan fiction somewhere else. Unfortunately, a lot of people read this political fan fiction to uphold their confirmation bias. whether they're contrarian team R, burn it all down, or they're don't criticize the squad. Don't, they're our only friends. They're our only friends. They do nice streams. Stand up for once in your life. Stop living life on your fucking knees for once. God damn it. I woke up in the best mood today and had, I don't know what's going on. I had an amazingly pleasant morning. I really did. I had such a cool I had a meeting with some of you guys know I have some colleagues out in Italy. I can't go into much detail about these projects at the moment. But I can say, is there a thing on my microphone? I can say I'm real excited about it. But anyway, we had a meeting this morning and it was really interesting. And here's something. So out in Italy, they're planning a general strike. I found this out this morning because my colleagues, which by the way, I can tell you that my colleagues, it doesn't have anything to do with politics. It's just we do have some things in common. I literally log on to our Zoom call. I was the first one there. They got there a little later and they go, Ron, sorry we're late. We're working on a general strike. So of course, I'm just going to leave that there. Of course I'm not. I'm like, whoa, tell me freaking more. So anyway, next week on the show, we're hopefully going to cover that. I don't know if that'll translate, but I want to cover it. Not translate in the literal sense. I'm not going to like do an episode in Italian. I couldn't do that if I wanted to, but translate in the sense that, you know, will I be able to present on a general strike in Italy in a way that's engaging and interesting? I hope so, and I'm sure going to try. So tune in because they're doing a general strike in freaking Italy. You ain't going to hear about this anywhere in America. You're going to hear about this from a comedian streaming in his bedroom. So anyway, so should they strike? I think they should. But now it's like they're being crushed by the powers that be. So they're kind of thinking how? Well, here's something that I think unpacks this a little bit. So this was a story from Nice Polite Republicans. And for those of you that follow what I've been doing over on Status Quo, I've been filling in on Status Quo a good bit. I talked about this over on Status Quo. I'm talking about it here as well. Alabama coal miners begin their 20th month on strike. So hundreds of coal miners in Brookwood, Alabama reached a milestone Thursday. They've been on strike for 20 months. That's well past the 6-week average. Now, how did they do this? They went on strike, first of all. They have continued demanding that their employer restore the pay and benefits that were cut in 2016. So they're demanding better wages. 500 remain on strike out of the 900 miners who started the strike. So how do they do this? So they lean on a support system. So first of all, when you pay union dues, one of those things those dues are used for is that when you do strike, you get a stipend from the union so that you can stay afloat while you're on strike. So they get paychecks every 2 weeks. And it's not a ton, but it's enough to help keep them afloat. Here's the other thing here. Community stands behind the strikers, offering donations and jobs. Locals are also helping the miners out, whether it's by keeping the food pantry stocked, providing backpacks for school, or toys as Christmas approaches. So they're helping out the people with food. They're helping out with stuff for their kids. But perhaps the most helpful support has come in the form of side jobs. Thanks to a tight labor market, strikers have found work at nearby strip mines and a Mercedes plant. The money's usually not close to what they made before the strike, but combined with the strike checks, it's enough to cover at least some bills. There's a particular worker here that does some plumbing. So a majority of a lot of this is mutual aid. Now side jobs and stuff like that is technically not mutual aid. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's not mutual aid. But providing stuff for kids, providing food, that's all mutual aid. So basically, how are strikes able to work? A lot of mutual aid and a well-run union. That's how strikes are able to work. And if they can do it in Alabama, in a small town in Alabama, well, they can do it nationwide. It would just take the same amount of planning, and it would take the same amount of cooperation. And it really begs the question, what would be cool is if the rail workers had some kind of mutual aid network that was nationwide, that was accessible, and that was thorough, and got a huge pool of people to participate. And they got the word out. They really got the word out. Now, that's going to be hard, because by get the word out, I don't mean you come on shows like this. I mean, that's great. Come on shows like this, of course. But it takes more than that. It takes more than, shows like this. I know Ron, you're not the biggest. No, I'm not. They would need some help from the corporate media, which they're sure as hell not going to get. So I'm not ordering an easy glass of water here, but that's kind of what you got to do. That's the only way it's going to work. And if they can do it in a small town in Alabama, which, by the way, that's why you didn't see a lot on this story. I'm surprised the nice, polite Republicans covered it, and I'll tip my hat where it's due. Kudos to them for covering it. But, this is the only way we win right here. So I hope they strike anyway. And I hope that if they strike anyway, people find a way to support them. I've already made this clear. Look, I try to help as much as I can. I, support mutual aid efforts in my community. And I, you guys know that I collaborate with digital rights campaigns, with Fight for the Future. And also I try to do my best as a communication vehicle. And another thing that I announced not too long ago, if you are a striking worker and you enjoy what I do and I am coming to your town, you get to come to the show for free. Just email me. We'll figure it out. But you get to come to my show free of charge. I know that's not much, but, it's something I can do that helps. You're striking. If you're in Tucson, Arizona, you're on strike right now, or if you're part of a union effort, it doesn't have to just be, if you're trying to unionize, you're on strike, you're going through like a legit, like a kind of, well, I shouldn't say legit, but you know what I mean? Like you're going through like a working class struggle, you get to come to my show for free. It's not much, but it's something I can do, So Tucson, Arizona, that's where I'm coming next. So if you're on strike right now, hit me up if you want to come to my show. You get to come for free. So let me go to the super chats. We got some here. Oh, and by the way, folks, stick around because the patron stream is coming up after this. The patron stream is a much more general chat, and it's it's kind of loosey goosey. It's just kind of cash. Not as planned ahead of time as this one. But let me go ahead and get to all the chats here. Rossi and Coyle, how are you? Hope you're awesome. Yes, and you're absolutely right about contrarianism. It's BS. I'm guessing that yes is also about the strike. You're saying they should strike anyway, and you're saying yes, and you're absolutely right about contrarianism. It's BS. I'm with you, Ross. Thank you very much for that. Cameron, what's up, Cameron? Backco, they should strike. More people support them rather than the narrative of MSM pushing the rail workers strike will kill the holiday season. Yeah, I hope so. That is, of course, the corporate media narrative. Oh, they're going to hurt your Christmas season. The workers are just being greedy. It's so terrible. It's absolutely criminal what they're doing. Oh, but everyone's wetting themselves because Jake Tapper did a small journalism against Pete Buttigieg. Jake Tapper took Pete Buttigieg to task a little bit. And by the way, he still gave Buttigieg plenty of time to recite his press releases. He didn't push back on the press release barely at all. He pushed back a tiny bit after CNN had done coverage after coverage shitting on the workers, making it about the economy and the holidays and your holiday gifts. They did that ad nauseum. Jake Tapper pushes back a tiny bit and everyone fucking wets themselves because everyone is just so desperate to entertain the fantasy that anyone in power, be it big media, big tech, that anyone has their back. Because it's a bitter pill to swallow that says nobody fucking does. We have each other's backs. That's it. And we're either going to somehow pull off a general strike or we're going to descend into a level of feudalism that this country's never even freaking seen before. Well, maybe not ever, but for a really freaking long time. A really, really freaking long time. So, yeah, not ever, but a long time. So, Cameron, you say they should strike. More people support them rather than, yeah, amen. Arlene Chambers, what is up? I hope they strike, Ron. We need another jolt in this country. My congressperson has responded to my call about the sick pay for workers. Oh, cool, Arlene. What did they say? You should ask me, hey, are you going to call on Biden to veto this bill? If your congressperson stands with the workers, quote unquote, and supports sick leave, are they? And by the way, if Congresswoman Berrigan responds to my other tweet, I'll let you all know. I would be surprised if she did, but maybe she will. Robert Gilbert, what's up? Hope you're well. Hope all is well up in the Northeast. Good work, Ron. I'm old enough to remember Patco, so illegal strikes are risky. Yes, they are. But yes, I would vote for a wildcat. You're currently only one sick day from getting fired anyway. Amen. Hey, frickin' men. That's the frickin' truth. Yeah, I hope they strike anyway. It can't continue to go on like this. It just can't continue to go on like this. Let's see. I know we got some stuff over on the Rockfin. What's up, Roger Meadows? How are you? They should just walk. Public sentiment might turn against them if they strike. So why should they walk? But can't if they leave. It passed by a veto-proof majority in both chambers, so a veto would show that he stands with workers, but no meat. We need laws allowing presidents to rip ownership away from corporate owner shareholders, transferring to workers if shown or egregious to workers. Matter of fact, they called for it. Yeah, I'm with you, but he could veto it, and then they could take it from there. And in the meantime, the rail workers, the deadline could be reached. I mean, they could override his veto, but if he said, hey, I'm not signing this, he refuses to sign it, they could override his veto. Time would pass between now and then, and the rail workers could be like, hey, we're going to strike anyway. An agreement hasn't been reached, and you guys haven't passed anything. So it actually would be good if Biden, used his bully pulpit. He's not going to. He already said he's not going to. But yeah, it'd be great if he did, and it would be helpful. Even though, yeah, they would likely override it, but you would have the clock on your side in that situation. Because again, the deadline is December 9th. So they would get the clock on their side. They don't have that now. But I hear you. You're absolutely right. I'm dead serious, Ron. I'm so past unions, and I'm all about cooperatization. Yeah, you make it out like they're in conflict. They're really not. With worker ownership, all these fights stop. They make their own rules. They don't have to worry about electing sellout, weak-ass union bosses. Instead, they hire, not elect, representatives or, I guess, lobbyists to speak on their behalf. I spoke to one in Albany, New York Capitol, who spoke to committee promoted regarding public broadband in New York State. Yeah, I'm with you. I disagree with trying to make it out like unionization and worker co-ops are somehow in conflict. They're not. It just kind of depends on the situation you're in. If you were to go up to a group of people at Starbucks trying to unionize and say, no, you guys need to have a worker co-op instead, I'm assuming, Roger, you realize how that is pretty much an impossibility. You're a Starbucks franchise, just to use it as an example, is owned by somebody. So workers do not have the ability. And if anybody thinks this, I'll just explain why this just isn't reality. If you think that a group of workers can just go up to somebody who owns a Starbucks franchise and say, hey, we're a worker co-op now, you can't do that because worker co-op goes into ownership. So that's just impossible. I mean, like the person would just tell you no. That's the end of it. What you can do, though, is you can say, we are unionizing and these are our demands and you don't get our labor if you don't play along. That's something you can do. Or, if the Starbucks franchise owner was to say, okay, screw you, I'm just going to sell this, they would have to buy it. So you're entertaining the idea, like, that did happen once. That happened one time in Rhode Island where this person, these workers were trying to unionize. The person was like, screw this, I'm selling the coffee shop. So they gathered their resources together, they bought it and made it a worker co-op. The idea, and so, yeah, and that's awesome. I'd love to see that happen everywhere. But do you really think a bunch of Starbucks workers across the country have the means and the resources to buy a franchise from the CEO capitalist who has way more freaking resources than they do, and then redesignate it a workers' co-op? Do you really think that a bunch of workers across the world who are already being exploited have the means to do that. I think if we're being honest and if we're living in reality, you're going to acknowledge that no, they do not. But what do they have the resources to do? They do have the resources to unionize and demand more for their labor. They do have the resources to do that. So I think that putting worker co-ops and unions against each other, I strongly disagree with that. And I think it's kind of a misguided thing. Though I do see what you're saying. I'd love for a freaking world where every single company is a worker co-op. And I think we should fight to get to that world. But I think we also have to do it in a way that's just realistic to what we're up against. But that's just me. But I hear what you're saying. And yeah, I would love to see every single Starbucks be employee owned and be a workers co-op. I would love to see every single company be a workers co-op. But to make it out, like, if you're going to go up to a group of Starbucks workers and be like, hey, don't unionize, do a worker co-op instead. That's like, I mean, it's like being like, just take over the Walmart. Like, well, I mean, dude, like, you kind of got to be grounded in reality here a little bit. That's not, I mean, I don't know. Like, do you have the means? Could you buy a Starbucks right now if you wanted to? I couldn't. And if I could, I freaking would. If I had the means, I would freaking get a group of people together and buy the local coffee shop or whatever, like the local Starbucks in my neighborhood, and make it a worker co-op. And I wouldn't make it Starbucks anymore. I would just make it an independent coffee. I don't have those kind of means. I think most people don't. I think that's why we're in this problem. But anyway, but I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. I think, yeah. So I just think, again, pitting unions against worker co-ops, they're not conflicting ideas. They're just different tools when that tool is necessary. There is a time where a workers co-op is not just necessary, but a workers co-op is viable. There are other times where you got to unionize. To make it out like they're in conflict, I disagree with. They're both important tools. So anyway, thank you for the super chat contribution, Roger Meadows. Much appreciated. Lucy's an old pro. How did she vote on the rail strike? I think I already answered that, but I'll answer it again. But yeah, she voted to crush the strike. My congressperson voted to crush the strike, and then she voted for the sick time. So again, if she's so sincere about this sick time, call up President Biden to veto the bill. Call on him to veto the bill. You gonna do that? You gonna do it? No, you're not. You're not. All right. Thank you so much, Ross. Thank you, Cameron. Thank you, Arlene. Thank you, Robert. Thank you, Roger Meadows over on the Rockfin. Hope you're doing well, buddy. And yeah, thank all of you for being here. Stick around because we are going to do the patron stream next, which again, that goes out to everyone. The patron stream goes out to everyone, but the replay is only available on Patreon and Rockfin Premium. So just stay tuned. We're just going to start like as soon as this stream's over. We're just gonna like start the patron stream. Just give me a few minutes to get a new stream started, and then that stream's gonna happen. And if you're thinking, Ron, I like what you do, I think I want to be a patron. Patreon.com/Ron Placone. For a give what you can level, you get all kinds of perks. Oh, and by the way, I'll make you a theme song. I mention that now because that is a huge thing that's popular with the holidays. Everyone wants a theme song for the holidays. And I love doing them. Yes, Ron. So let me explain. This is from Roger here. I'll do this real quick. Yes, Ron. So let me explain. My dream is to create a New York State agency called the Cooperative Business Administration that do for co-ops what the SBA does for small businesses. That sounds great. By providing counseling, tax resources, a voice in government, government contracting, consultation, education, training, financing, research, all to make it easier to form business cooperatives from scratch. That is great, Roger. That is your lane, and that's an awesome lane. And I hope you build this thing, and I hope that it is the biggest success ever. I hope it doesn't even stay in New York. I hope it goes all around the country. That's great. But what is that doing for the people who are having to do something right now? You know what I mean? How does that help? And I'm not like putting down your idea when I say this. I'm just saying to say, oh, I'm done with unions because of this. I disagree. I disagree with that framing. And there's, no way I'd ever agree with that, you know, because I hope you build this thing. I hope it goes to the frickin' moon, man. Not like, not like the Elon Musk way, but you know what I mean. Um, and that'd be awesome. It'd be amazing if there were more. And I yearn for that day too. Again, I'd love to see every entity in this country be a worker co-op. That's why I'm a socialist. But you also have to recognize the situation that you're in. And you have to recognize that, yeah, a group of workers right now going up against a big behemoth, they might not have the resources to pull together for a worker co-op. They do have the resources to unionize and to demand more. And that's a start. And that's important. And, I think to disparage that because you want to build a thing that doesn't exist yet, I think that's counterproductive. And, that's all I got to say about it. So when they decide to shut down because of unionization, the workers can go to them and say, hey, can you help us take over when they leave? Yeah, I'm with you. Dude, Roger, I'm 100% with you. I'm 100% with you. I don't disagree with anything you're saying. And I am 100% with you building this thing. And I get what you're saying. And by the way, in Rhode Island, that happened. Like that happened in Rhode Island. They literally, they tried to unionize, and the capitalist, we'll just go with capitalist, CEO capitalist. The capitalist said, screw you guys, I'm going to sell this. And he thought that was a big, like, I'll show you. They bought it from him. And they made it a workers' co-op. And yeah, Roger, if an entity existed that helped foster that all around the country, hell yeah, man, I'm all for it. I'm 110% for it. But I certainly wouldn't be disparaging towards union efforts because of that. That's all I'm saying. Like I would never say something like, "Oh, I'm done with unions." I disagree with that framing. I disagree with that analysis. That's all I'm saying. So yeah. And by the way, you're acknowledging in what you're saying here that unionization plays a positive role in everything, because you're saying they're shutting down because of unionization. Well, that means people are trying to unionize. So, but I hear what you're saying, and I wish you all the success in the world in building this thing. I hope you fucking crush it. And yeah, co-ops are happening. So anyway, what was I talking about? I was telling you about my theme songs. Theme songs are really popular over the holiday season, and you can get one when you sign up at patreon.com/Ron Placone. Give what you can level. People have been loving the theme songs for holiday gifts. I've been getting some orders already. It's early December. I'm already getting some orders. So order yours now. Patreon.com/Ron Placone. And tour dates, I got them. And by the way, if you're on strike or you're part of a union effort, you get to go to the show for free. Email me. We'll make it happen. Tucson, Arizona, January 28th. That's going to be a stand-up show and the premiere screening of my short film, Loner. That's January 28th. Tucson, Arizona. February 10th, Los Angeles, California at the Glendale Room. First of 3 shows at the Glendale Room, and I'm working on my 2023 hour. The second show is April 14th. The third show is May 12th. San Diego, I just got an email today that it might just be Saturday night instead of Friday, Saturday. It might just be the 18th. When I figure that out, I'll adjust things accordingly. But San Diego, the week of February 17th and 18th, I will probably definitely be there Saturday night. Friday night is iffy now. I just got an email this morning. I need to look into it. But San Diego, I'm coming. And I will have some more tour dates to announce very soon. Just confirmed Madison, Wisconsin. Working on confirming some more in the American Midwest. And then I'm trying to do the Edinburgh Fringe this year. I'll likely also do a show in London. So keep your eye out. Tour dates will be announced soon. We'll be back next Sunday. And in the meantime, you know the drill. Lucy, she says meow. I say peace, love, and a general strike.